Rachel Zegler on the first day of casting. And I just kept looking and looking and looking, as high as Rachel reached that first day.
Hollywood has never been short on meteoric rises and catastrophic falls, but this one might just take the cake. Rachel Zegler, once the fresh-faced darling hailed for her stunning breakout in West Side Story, has tumbled so spectacularly that fans and insiders alike are left speechless. The initial alarm bells, a savage rumor. Steven Spielberg allegedly called her horrible to work with behind the scenes.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings.
Yeah,
They won't even
7
say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves.
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
That alone would make headlines. But then came the Snow White box office. Disaster. A flop so colossal that it etched itself into modern cinematic shame. And when the dust settled, fingers started pointing in one direction. Rachel Zegler. In a matter of months, she's gone from Hollywood's golden child to a cautionary tale. Whispers say Spielberg, the legendary director who gave her big...
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Brake has been speaking to colleagues, and what he's saying is far from flattering. Actually, it's downright brutal. It's that mask-off moment everyone feared would come. The rumor is that he found her behavior on set unbearable, her attitude toxic, and her ego insurmountable. A shocking claim? Absolutely. But it's hitting at a time when Rachel's career is already on the ropes, and the more you dig into it, the uglier it gets. If you thought Snow White's dismal performance was just a fluke...
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Part of the first, fairy tale ever told.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's gonna lose money on this movie, and I believe it only made less than $1 million.
Think again. Behind. The crumbling facade is a story of alleged arrogance, backstage squabbles, and a young star who might have burned the most important bridge in Hollywood. Let's dive in, because this scandal isn't just about a movie failing. It's about a director who rarely criticizes anyone stepping forward with a barrage of private complaints, a disastrous big-budget flop that left Disney reeling, and...
Remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarves. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group. You just erase that whole...
Broke out with this news, and I'm very, very, very excited and looking forward.
The possibility that a once promising star may be blacklisted by the very industry that created her. Word travels fast in Tinseltown, especially when it comes from a name like Steven Spielberg. The rumor, allegedly confirmed by various insider whispers.
Last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. His first live-action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
Oh my God.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
Claims Spielberg told top-tier industry folks that Rachel Zegler was an absolute nightmare on the set of West Side Story. Not complicated, not misunderstood, but horrible, plain and simple. This is the same Spielberg who discovered Drew Barrymore, guided Christian Bale as a child actor, and helped shape Tom Hanks' career.
Who wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of...
He's famed for nurturing new talent, not tearing them down. So what on earth happened? Insiders say Rachel was consistently difficult. She purportedly questioned Spielberg's direction at every turn, insisted on retakes only when they suited her emotional comfort, and pushed back against choreographers who'd spent months perfecting dance numbers. Spielberg, famously patient, apparently tried to accommodate, until it became obvious that he'd made a grave mistake.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension. Racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
But having publicly boasted about discovering the next It Girl, he found himself stuck. Millions had already been invested, and the project was under scrutiny as a beloved remake of a classic, The Alleged Heartbreak. Spielberg lamented to confidants that he'd never faced such resistance from a newcomer. He'd personally championed her from thousands of audition tapes, believing she had the right blend of raw talent and stage presence. Early test screenings for West Side Story indicated she was electrifying on camera. But behind the scenes, the vibe was anything but enchanting. Spielberg's close friends claim he felt deeply disappointed, telling them that raw talent means nothing if the star in question lacks respect for the filmmaking process. While the director never publicly lashed out at Rachel, folks noticed his lukewarm endorsements. He praised Ariana DeBose's brilliance all over press junkets, beaming at her eventual Oscar success. But for the film's leading lady, Spielberg's commentary was mostly generic, if he mentioned her at all. Now, with these behind-the-scenes revelations leaking, fans are connecting the dots. He didn't just fail to promote her, he was allegedly holding back a tidal wave of frustration. You'd think the West Side Story fiasco would end there. But behind those cameras, even more disturbing rumors lingered, ones that would resurface with a vengeance the moment Snow White collapsed in theaters. Back when West Side Story was in production, most mainstream outlets sang Rachel Zegler's praises. She was the Cinderella of casting calls, discovered through a viral audition clip, then thrust into a dream project. Yet scattered across Reddit threads and Hollywood gossip boards were cryptic accounts of a young actress on a Spielberg musical set, described as unprofessional, egotistical, and consistently at odds with the choreographers. These stories simmered quietly, overshadowed by the film's marketing hype. One especially telling blind item recounted how a newly cast lead actress balked at repeated dance takes, complaining the choreography was too demanding and that she wouldn't reduce herself to an obedient puppet. Another rumor claimed this rising star once stormed off set after being asked to show more vulnerability in a pivotal scene, leaving crew members scrambling to rework the schedule. At the time, folks chalked it up to typical production drama. Now, with everything out in the open, it all points convincingly toward Rachel. Even costumers and makeup artists allegedly got an earful. Some said she nitpicked every wardrobe choice, complaining about how the outfits didn't flatter her shape. Others whispered about her threatening to call out production staff publicly if they didn't meet her demands, believing her budding. Social media influence gave her leverage. True or not, these stories multiplied under the radar. Barely a blip at first, but growing louder with each new snippet from set insiders. As West Side Story marched toward release, these rumors were overshadowed by Oscar buzz and the halo of Spielberg's name. But nothing stays buried in Hollywood for long. And as soon as West Side Story's hype cooled, critics started sifting through the rubble. They noticed Spielberg's apparent indifference toward Rachel during award season. The cameras might have shown them in the same frame, but body language. Experts and industry watchers insisted there was frost in the air. A forced smile here, a distanced seat arrangement there. Now, with the uproar swirling, it seems those subtle signs weren't just coincidences. While many hoped these rumors were just idle gossip, a second blow came that no one could ignore: the Snow White live-action fiasco, an outright box office meltdown that would put Rachel's rumored attitude front and center again. Disney banked hard on its live-action remakes, and Snow White was poised to be the next big thing. After all, we'd already seen mega hits like Beauty and the Beast succeed, so the House of Mouse poured a staggering budget, reportedly over $250 million, into this adaptation. They billed it as a modern reimagining of a timeless fairy tale, trusting that star power and nostalgia would do the heavy lifting. Rachel Zegler, fresh off her West Side Story spotlight, was expected to bring a youthful edge to a classic princess. What happened next is the stuff of industry nightmares. The film bombed spectacularly. Box office figures limped in far below expectations, barely scraping the bottom of Disney's usual revenue thresholds. Critics wasted no time sharpening their knives. They labeled the film soulless, unnecessary, and a jumbled misstep. The harshest take? Rachel's portrayal felt hollow, as if she didn't respect the original character or the material. Before anyone could say glass coffin, social media erupted. Fans were furious over how the film's marketing disparaged the original Snow. White Story as outdated, with Rachel infamously branding aspects of the classic as creepy. Viewers felt she was spitting on a childhood legend. It didn't help that her press tour clips went viral for all the wrong reasons. She joked about disliking the original storyline. She hinted that Prince Charming was basically a stalker. And while some applauded her for aiming to modernize a beloved fairy tale, others saw it as arrogance, dissing a classic just to appear edgy. Disney execs reportedly panicked. Inside sources claimed test screenings had already spelled doom. People simply weren't buying this new take. Yet, they couldn't fathom just how big the backlash would be. Once the official premiere hit, the numbers told a grim story. For a studio reliant on family favorites, raking in less than a fraction of what they spent was humiliating. In post-mortem meetings, executives clashed over who to blame. But fingers inevitably turned toward the leading lady who seemed to be tarnishing the brand's oldest fairy tale. As disastrous as Snow White's performance was, Rachel's response took things from bad to worse, earning her an even bigger target on her back in the industry. When a movie crashes and burns, you'd expect some humility. Perhaps a measured statement, an apology to fans, or a graceful acceptance of personal missteps. But allegedly, Rachel Zegler chose a different path. Insiders claim she privately vented that Disney's marketing was overshadowed by the hype for the Minecraft film, suggesting that audiences were more excited about a blocky video game adaptation than a reimagined classic. She bemoaned that fairy tales just aren't in anymore, framing the fiasco as a broader industry shift rather than her own shortcoming. Fans and critics pounced immediately, unleashing an internet storm of memes, reaction videos, and comedic sketches about her scapegoating. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram lit up with parodies mocking her for blaming a completely unrelated project for Snow White's downfall. Memes featured pixelated block characters dethroning Disney princesses, with captions like "Rachel found," "Her scapegoat," or "Minecraft stole my spotlight." Within days, it became painfully clear. Audiences weren't buying her excuses. They wanted accountability, and they weren't getting it. At the same time, more stories trickled out about how she'd allegedly been dismissive of other Disney staff and refused certain media obligations once the negative press swelled. Instead of rallying for a damage control PR tour, she seemed to withdraw, fueling speculation that she was only enthusiastic when things were going well. If that attitude is even half true, it's a fatal flaw in an industry where public image can make or break your career. While the Minecraft blame game alone was enough to turn heads, it was a second wave of chatter, coming directly from the hallowed corridors of Hollywood's elite, that truly sealed Rachel's fate. The final nail in the coffin might be Spielberg's continued refusal to publicly salvage her reputation, because in Hollywood, silence can be the loudest condemnation. A question that keeps popping up: why hasn't Spielberg come forward to either deny or confirm these allegations? If he was truly upset, why not publicly clear the air? The answer might be painfully simple: he doesn't need to. Spielberg, with decades of credibility, might feel he owes no explanation to the press. His track record speaks for itself. And for those in the business, that track record is everything. By keeping quiet, Spielberg allows the rumor to grow unchecked. Each